let's move on to the dungeon debate.
This is going to be a big
one, but
debate.
We don't have infinite time. So really, let's get to it. The debate is chromatic dragons versus metallic dragons. And if you're here because you want to know the difference, we'll tell you that right in the beginning. But then we're going to debate which one's better. So
do you want me to tell?
Go ahead and give a Spark Notes summary of chromatic dragons.
Or both.
Just the one
so
you're
basically,
defending. I'm defending metallic dragons.
In the dawn of time, there were two family types of dragons, chromatic and metallics. For chromatics, the red, the blue, the green, the black, and the white.
Nice.
The most classic of dragons that you will see in the Forgotten Realms. They're a lot more common than the metallics, but they some might be a little less powerful, but don't underestimate them. They're still dragons. Dragons are powerful, magical creatures. Some of the strongest races in the Forgotten Realms. And chromatics, they show their true power. A red shows their arrogance. And of course, the red is the title. It's the cover of the entire game. So chromatics are, very
they look
famous.
Cool, that's for sure.
But chromatics are evil-based dragons. They have their patron god, Tiamat, the goddess of chromatic dragons. Chromatic dragons, they can lair to tundras, to forests, to volcanoes, to deserts. They can lair in any place but the ocean. Never seen one. But
all right, Spark Notes version.
Spark Notes.
What is the gist? They're
the
evil.
Gist is they are evil dragons, very common, very fun to fight and play as.
Yes. And they are typically colors. As in chromatic. And so they are different than metallic dragons in that metallic dragons are more of an Eastern type. Not in their appearance, but in their personalities. They are good dragons. The westernized civilization kind of views dragons as evil. Eastern has always viewed them as signs of good luck, as wise, and that's kind of what we're going with here with metallic dragons, and these are the ones I prefer. In general, metallic dragons, as in their name, are based off of some sort of metal. So you have like silver, gold, brass, bronze, copper, the metallic things. And that's them. They're good. And they're all different in terms of their personality and abilities.
The same thing with chromatics. Very different.
Same with chromatics. So why do I prefer metallic dragons? Well, first off, I want to say we're talking about dragons here. Every single type of dragon is awesome.
Yeah, I was literally going to say that. Actually, my favorite is a silver dragon, but...
Boom.
But my other favorite is the classic red dragon. That's just the reds are just gets you excited. But dragons are awesome.
It's hard to criticize dragons. It's hard to say which one's better because they're all so cool.
It makes me sad.
But I thought about why I prefer metallics, and I will now say it. And I think it's justified. Okay. So I think we can agree that all dragons are cool in that their abilities are always pretty unique. I mean, they're all dragons, of course, so they have a breath weapon and such, but they all have pretty different breath weapons. They all have relatively different flavors to them, and they're all very cool in whatever they do. But we are not talking about individual dragon comparisons here. We're not talking about red versus gold or blah, blah, blah. We're talking about chromatics versus metallics. So the question really here, I think, is which is the better group?
Who would win?
Well, maybe, but not. I think they're pretty equal, right?
They are very equal.
Yeah, and they're designed to be basically the same.
Yeah, so we're I will dive into some base, why one hasn't won over the other, but I'll explain that shortly. But yes, they are very equal. We're not talking about who would win each side. We're talking about just which one is the cooler. But they're both super cool. But which one we just like personally better?
Yeah, and so they're all cool. And so, but what I think makes metallic dragons better, and better in that they're cooler, is because they have more variety in their grouping. They are more diverse in their motivations, in their personality, and of course powers than chromatics are, and that therefore makes them more interesting.
I would actually disagree with that.
Well, that's what we're here for.
I actually heavily disagree with that.
Okay.
Because chromatics and metallics. So metallics are good. So they want to help and they want to serve. Well, not serve, but they want to help good beings. While chromatics, they're all about themselves. They are internally evil. So you can have a gold and a bronze. They generally do the same thing. Basically, they smite
I completely
evil.
disagree.
Yes.
So this is where
they go around and purge evil. That is what they do.
That's not true though. So they are good, so therefore they do that because that's who they would fight. But they have different motivations, so and different personalities. So, like take a brass dragon and a gold dragon. Like
I'm talking about bronze.
Bronze. So oh god. So the bronze I know the least about. They're like military.
So the bronze are basically so
they join in on like skirmishes.
The bronze and the golds are the most
So you're picking two that are similar.
The most similar, yeah.
Okay,
because
that's not a good comparison.
So bronze is like they're like the military. So they love combat and they love fighting evil. They love polymorphing into like a soldier and just fighting.
Exactly.
Battles.
Okay, that's what I thought. That is so different than gold. That's very different. Gold is all about philosophy, right? And wisdom. And it's cool because that makes two different creatures. They're very diverse. And these are two similar dragons in comparison to the others. Brass dragon, again, completely different flavor. They're like the partiers, the social ones. Every single one is so different. But chromatics, they're all basically greedy and evil. Even if they use different means of acting like that, that's always their motivation. It's always to be evil in some way.
Well, but remember, all dragons are greedy, right?
Okay, so evil, I guess, is the more thing. Like, evil dominates the chromatic dragon's personality, while good doesn't dominate the metallic dragon's personality. They kind of have their own other motivations besides being evil. But chromatics, their motivations really can boil down to being evil almost every time.
Well, as I say again, every dragon is different. I just think the metallics, personality-wise, are way more similar than compared to the chromatic to chromatic. Because
I'm saying the opposite.
Yeah, no, well, I disagree with you that because coppers and brass, they're like the coppers are called the bards of dragonkind. They love bards. They love telling jokes. They're like the pranksters, right? So that's very similar to a brass. They're very social, right?
No, but that's very different.
Right, but
those are. But you're picking two that are similar. But those two are similar, but they are still different.
They are a lot more similar when you take like a red to a white.
But think about the difference.
The chromatics are not in. All of them are very, very, very different.
Think about the difference between a copper and a brass. So you're saying those are two very similar dragons, and they are. But let's think about the differences. Brass dragons, super sociable, love to talk to you. You like a fun interaction is you get buried up to your neck in sand and they talk your head off. Not literally, but you know what I'm saying. An interaction with a copper dragon is they say, there's a magical item in the desert. It's over there. Go get it. And then it's not there.
I love it. And they're like,
and then you spend like a year trying to find it. And then they're like, get pranked. You know what I mean? Those are similar in that they kind of have a quirky personality, but those are very fun and interesting and different. Take a white dragon and a black dragon. One hates you and wants to kill you. One is hungry and wants to kill you. It's not a big difference.
That's,
you know what I mean?
But you're kind of taking it a little too seriously. Like that, you're kind of saying the same thing with a copper and brass. Like they're both very talkative. Well, of course, a white, like blacks. I feel like are like the most.
But it all bears down to you fight them.
Dragon.
That's it.
Well, yes, but like greens will not necessarily just fight you. They don't actually.
Greens are a slight exception. But overall, the chromatics are still more similar. Again, greens are a little more strategic, but overall, it comes down to you're going to fight them. But you can have a much more high variety of interactions and role-playing situations with the metallics.
I do disagree with that because
you got to defend yourself now.
Yeah. To put up your point, the metallics are a lot more similar to each other than the chromatics are to themselves.
Yeah, and I was talking about brass and copper, which are very similar. I wasn't even Those are very similar compared to if I said brass or gold or silver and copper.
Right,
those are
but
vastly different.
I'm saying those two, like metallics, are generally a lot more similar in personality-wise compared to chromatics. Every chromatic is different, yet again. And they even explored of why chromatics are, one, a lot more used in the game. Because in the lore, they're a lot more common than metallics.
And because you fight them.
It's not just fighting.
But that's a big reason why they are more common.
Well, exactly. That's one of the big fun things that we all like about dragons. People want to slay some dragons, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get
But,
that.
like, every dragon is different. For example, the red dragon is the classic, the best, all greed, all about themselves. They're not just like, I'm gonna kill you. They're like, oh, maybe you can talk with the dragon. You do like a Bilbo with Smog thing. Be like, oh, you can like try to lie to him and do like riddles, and like you will have a very fun conversation with all of the chromatics except for whites, because whites just don't talk, period.
Yeah.
So, but whites have a very interesting way of why they don't talk, in their lore. Their brains physically can't comprehend that stuff. So they're very numerical, and they have the best memory. So if you double cross one, they will remember forever, while others might not. Blues won't just necessarily kill you.
But you're talking about the way they go about fighting and the way they go about being evil, basically. But their motivation is still the same.
It's not the same.
If a blue is firing lightning down from the sky at you, and a white is like sneaking up on you and pouncing, they're both fighting you.
Well,
their motivation is to kill you. Period.
That's not their motivation number one. Blues, they are kind of like, think of them as kind of like the
Well, I know the difference. I'm just saying they all end up being you fight them.
But then the
dies.
same thing is with the metallics. The end thing is like you just talk to them or they help you, or you might even fight them.
See, you already gave 3 differences, and that's just scratching the surface of what you can do with metallics.
Well, no, but chromatics, they might go away and they might cause harm to the party. They're a lot better.
Which means you fight them.
That is not just fighting them.
Well, you can't.
You can still fight a metallic technically.
Exactly, you can if you want to. But the interactions are so different. What I'm saying is, when you have an interaction with a brass dragon, it's unique. And it can end in an infinite number of roleplay situations. When you have a conversation with a a copper dragon, it's unique. You get pranked, unique. When you have a conversation with a red dragon, when you have a conversation with a blue dragon, a conversation with a black dragon, they are different, but they always end with you in conflict.
Yes, in conflict, but that doesn't mean combat, though.
But almost all
every
time.
chromatic individual is very different. So all dragons have their personal, their nature. But for essence, you can have evil metallics and you can have good chromatics. It's delved into their way of overcoming their nature. So now we're talking about which one's nature is better. So you're saying that the chromatics will just end in combat, which is fun, by the way. Who doesn't want to fight a dragon?
Yeah.
But you're saying the metallics has all these infinite roleplay possibilities. That still applies with the chromatics.
I'm saying as a group, metallics vary a lot more in their personality and motivations. And I'm not saying chromatics don't. I'm just saying metallics do more, which makes them better.
I feel like chromatics do more because there's more versatility. You have a chance of fighting them, and you have the likelihood of fighting them. But you can still you can strike a bargains with chromatics. You can even get the help of chromatics
but they're all going to be very similar. If you're striking
a
bargain,
not all super.
It's going to be you give me something, I give you something back. That's how it's going to be. With the metallic dragons, there's a whole host of reasons why you would be dealing with them.
Well, okay, then say some examples.
So I'll just keep with the ones I'm saying. A brass dragon, you might be dealing with them because they very much want to spill some lore, or they want to talk about history, or they want to ask you about your backstory, stuff like that. And then a copper one, you might be interacting with one because you're looking for a magic item, and it knows where it is. Or it doesn't, and it's just pranking you. But these are differences. Well, and if you do strike a bargain, it could be for any reason. It could be like they're just being nice. or they're pranking you, or they want you to have this magic item because it'll benefit them somehow, or you'll give them one in return. Blah blah blah. But there's just like I could name any interaction, and you could do it with Metallic Dragon. You can't name any interaction and do it with a Chromatic.
Well, give one that you can't do with a Chromatic Dragon.
They're being nice to you and giving you something.
Well, the nice part, you're coming over nature, but you're never gonna have an evil, like a mean Metallic Dragon.
So I'm talking.
Like you're never gonna have one that's mean, because then it's like they're the total opposite.
But take a specific roleplay situation, like forget dragons. Let's say a person walks up to you. Think of all the possibilities of what that person might be. Think of them. Are you thinking? All of them can be done with metallic.
Not necessarily.
Except perhaps just like except they're like a psychopath or something, maybe. But a Chromatic Dragon, you're very much limited to evil. So it's anything evil. You can't have all those social interactions because the dragon is going to be preoccupied with eating you.
I totally disagree with that, because that kind of contradicts yourself, because all Metallic Dragons are generally good. So you can't have an infinite roleplay possibilities that you could have the same with a Chromatic Dragon. Like you said, brasses and coppers prank, brasses love to talk. That's generally what those types love to do. But there's more diversity. Like blues are the most.
Think about like you have a bandit walk up to you, or like an evil. Let's say you have like an evil death knight walk up to you, or you have a person that is just normal.
You can't, because people will never be always lawful good. The Metallic Dragons are a lot more they're still very selfish of themselves. So they will always want to do. But hear me out though.
Compared to Chromatics,
not necessarily, because blues, they want something, but they do it in so many different ways. While Metallics, they also want something else, because the only dragon that I think does none of this stuff, which is unique, is what are they called? Steel dragons. They are probably the most unique out of all of them. And
where do they fit?
Well, they're steel, so I guess they're metal. But they're not. They don't act like they're neutral. They're not supposed to be like normal. But that's like what you take as like that would be what you're talking about, infinite possibilities. But we're talking about you have the evil side. So for example, a blue dragon, a blue dragon could potentially put you on a quest himself.
This is why metallics have more possibility. Yes, you have good, you have bad, and they both have their own possibilities. But because the party is generally good, that's what makes the metallics aligning with the player's alignment is what allows for there to be more possibilities. You know what I'm saying? Because if you have bad alignments meeting with good alignments, those most of the time will end in conflict. But when you have good and good or bad and bad, there's a synergy there, and anything can really happen. But mostly with good and good. Bad and bad will probably.
Well, but I get what you're saying. But if you want to role play the dragons to their like lore, you can do more stuff with the chromatics than the metallics, because all metallics want one thing, and they're nice about it, and they'll usually.
What do they want?
Well, everyone's different. Like, for example, coppers
you
are
it.
Prankster. You know what? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like coppers, or not coppers, brass, they just interrupt you and talk about themselves. That's like one of their biggest things. They just want to physically let stuff out.
But that's such a that's a cool quirk.
That is
very different than all the other
dragons. That is
dragons.
cool, but let's say you have like a green dragon, right? And he meets this race that he's never smelt or seen before. If that happened to the brass would like be very curious, and the green would as well. But the brass would kind of forget that and start talking about like his own stuff. But the green would be he would be like, "What are you?" Kind of like how Smaug was with Bilbo. Smaug has never seen a hobbit, and he's like, "What are you?" And he was asking all these questions. It was like, and that's why you don't have a metallic dragon like Lord of the Rings, because evil dragons are just used a lot more to progress the plot and they're of course like the end
I don't think
boss.
I don't think that was a fair comparison. I think that was a straw man because that whole dynamic with Smog, yes, is a red dragon, but that would just be a gold dragon.
That would not be a gold
Or
dragon.
it would be a good dragon could easily be like, "What are you?"
Well, yeah, but you take
Why
a brass. A brass would be like he would be very interested.
Yeah, but Brass is a bad example. And name any other dragon. And they
Copper
might
would be also a bad example. Bronze wouldn't really care because they're all about military. Golds, they're so high of themselves. They're all wise. They would look at you as like, like you are very interesting. I'm gonna put you in a book. That's really it. But a green dragon.
They would need to ask what you are if you're gonna.
That is true, but a green dragon would use it to its advantage. It's like, what could I do with you? I want to use you for my own benefits, but I can use you for more creative possibilities. So it breeds so much possibilities.
But they're conflicting. They're evil possibilities. They're not good ones. And I'm not saying chromatics are all the same. I'm saying because of the possibilities of being having a synergy of alignments and the fact that they have more defined personalities, I think, metallics. Chromatics, it's more about what's their strategy. Metallics are what's their personality. And I think personality is a more interesting thing to focus on. And although chromatics do have their own personalities, it's not as interesting and fleshed out as the metallics. Because, again, the focus of the chromatics in a metagame sense is to fight them. That's their focus. That's why there's more of them. That's why they're evil. It's meant to fight them. And so instead of giving them unique personalities, which they do give, but they focus more on unique strategies in fighting. Metallics are the opposite.
Well, as again, I disagree with you.
All right.
So for dragons, we have to talk about so when we say they're good or they're evil, that it's not really like they're evil. Like the red dragon just has a joy of killing people. Each dragon has an agenda. Each dragon is eternally very, very selfish. They want to do what brings them happiness. Like, for example, a silver dragon, loves to help people. They care, they're so interested in humans because, they don't live long and stuff. So they don't care about, all the other races. They only care about humans. They're all about one specific thing. While the chromatics are a lot more broad, and you can.
Ethan, that is such a straw man. That's just silvers. That's it. You can't just name one of the metallic dragons and act like that's all of them.
Do you want me to do all of them? For all the metallics? I can literally do it for all the metallics.
No, you're saying all metallic dragons only care about humans?
No, only silvers.
What is your point with this?
One point is the metallics think about one thing, one idea. That's all they care about.
But that's
all examples.
That's not true.
That is true. That is very true.
If that's true, that's no different than chromatics.
No, chromatics, they're all selfish about themselves. They have more broad topics of what they want. They have more broad things that they want. So you can, when you have something broad, you can do a lot more ideas, a lot more stuff with that.
You're talking about something different. So I am saying you take a metallic dragon, or you take a copper, a bronze, a gold, a silver, and they, compared to each other, can be very different. More different than if you take a red, a blue, a green, blah, blah, blah. That's what I'm saying. But you're saying on an individual basis, a chromatic dragon has more variety in what it can want. So you're saying a brass dragon will always want to socialize, while a red dragon, who knows what it wants? It's just going to be something evil or greedy or whatever.
Selfish, yeah.
So that's what you're saying. That's different, and I can see that being a point, but that's just a different point. So, I mean...
Well, yeah, but, to your point, a brass and a copper are a lot more similar than a black and a red. They are.
Brass and copper
are a lot more similar. They act more similarly than a red to a black would. Whites just don't... They're not similar to any of the other dragons, so we can't even count whites. Greens are probably more similar to the metallic dragons because all the metallic dragons are social.
But
Greens
similar,
are the most
you're being
metallics.
vague in how you're using similar. So they are chromatic dragons are very different in how they go about doing their evil stuff.
Well, not just their evil stuff,
like,
of just how they think and what they want.
But it's the motivations behind the same action, and the action is the fight, is to kill, to pillage, to steal. It's always bad.
But you're just thinking the same way. Well, then I could just say metallic dragons just only want good things. They just want to help people. Then that's what they're all about.
But they're not all about that.
Yeah,
that's not true.
Kind of is.
They're good, but that doesn't mean that's their only thing they're trying to do. You know what I mean? That's just one aspect of the personality. So, for example, like a gold dragon, if you interact with a gold dragon, you're going to be interacting with a hyper-intelligent being that is very wise.
Which all of them are.
But gold dragons are even more, like way more
right?
Not even close. And that's very different than interacting with a brass dragon, who, although they are intelligent, they are all about just straight up socializing and talking and like talking about stories and sharing information. And that's very different than, a silver dragon who's more chill and more just like being nice to you and giving you compliments. But when you now go into the chromatic dragons, the difference is not in when you're talking to them, although it is slightly. Like a red dragon might be like talking about their horde, while a black dragon might skip the talk and be like, let's talk about me peeling your skin off. Yeah, like I get that. But those in the D&D system will end in fighting, and it will be the same. Sure, the little cutscenes in between turns will be different, but you're still fighting.
Well, but then it's a bad thing that you'll never get to fight a metallic dragon. You know what I'm saying? Like, combat is good,
that's a
but
point you can make.
As a DM, it doesn't always have to end in the fight. Like, dragons, they have their own agenda. If they're like, if these people impede my agenda, like blues, they don't, they rival bronze in strategy. So like blue, like personally, I like blue's personality the most out of all of them because they're probably the most unique. Because, like, they are lawful evil, so they're kind of like devils in a way, instead of just the black, just, I'm going to skin you and eat you. So, like, blues, they won't, in the end, they could not just kill you. They could even, like, barter with you. They can, like, talk to you. Blues can even send you on their own, on your quest. You could literally you could start a campaign where a blue is like, hey, blues are kind of like, think of them as like, not Jabba the Hutt, but like a warlord of a region.
Yeah,
that's what they care about. That doesn't really make them evil.
They are evil though. They might just be like, look at those ants, lightning.
Well, all dragons think everything else are ants, right?
But they would actually attack you for it.
They would not just come. Well, that would go against their personality.
No, but okay.
They could.
I'm
but
not
that would
saying
go
chromatic dragons are all the same. I'm just saying metallic dragons are more different. That's all I'm saying. I get there are exceptions.
I'm just saying chromatics are.
But perhaps I think I know who should decide.
Me. Well, actually, I do want to say one more point.
All right.
The god of the chromatics are a lot cooler than the metallics. Tiamat's a lot cooler than Bama.
Get that out of here.
That is so true.
This is someone who has a red dragon lance. Fizban is the real homie. The real god.
But Tiamat's also in Dragonlance. She is the main villain in the story. Forget her name, but she can also turn to humanoid form. Plus, being a 5-headed dragon is really cool.
So I've read like the actual series. I mean, there's a lot of them, I think, but I've read like the Spring Dawning or whatever they're called.
Tiamat apparently is in it.
I mean, there's a girl named Kitiara, I think, is the main villain, but that's not Tiamat.
No, there's certain hints that I don't know. I read.
You haven't read it, so get out of here.
No, I actually didn't read some of it.
No, but Fizban, him as a character is like awesome.
Well, yes, that's
because he's an old guy who can't remember anything, and he's like, "What was that spell again?" Yes, and he just shoots a fireball.
Well, actually,
in the middle of like combat.
I'm pretty sure that's just Bama just acting as like Bama actually just takes funny joy. Like he actually isn't like that.
But that's awesome.
He literally just sits there
while
everyone else is dying. He's literally acting just like. That is pretty.
There
cool.
was a scene where him and a little character were falling to their death, and he's like, "Oh, I know what to do," and he goes and he like casts a spell, and it's supposed to be Featherfall, but instead of Featherfall, he just creates like 1,000,000 feathers, and they die.
They die?
And they hit, die.
Both of them die.
That's what we are told, and then eventually we find out that he actually did save him. But it was like a surprise. It was like, you messed up the spell, idiot.
So
like, it should have been Featherfall.
So I guess he's doing like kind of the copper side, because they said each of them are like, I don't know, the lore is just like they were siblings. They used to be two parts of one dragon god. That dragon god got cut in half by some other
But
god,
like I'm defending Fizzband. Like Fizzband's awesome.
Fizzband is awesome, but I'm just generally like when
Tiamat's just a giant monster to fight.
No, that's not true. Tiamat has like all sorts of stuff. Like her like whole like relationship with Asmodeus and stuff, like her lair and like how she works. It's just how she connives and makes her plans. It's just really
that's
cool.
lore, but when you actually interact with her, it's gonna be fighting.
No, but how she interacts with people, she's just ruthless as hell too. When she spawns the people that helped her, like, yes, our savior's here, she just eats them.
That's combat.
But combat's still good. Don't negate combat. Combat's
good,
still very good.
But
the thing is, just think of the savagery you would have to go through. Like, literally, she negates the heroes who are damaging her while she's doing this. She'll just firstly eat all of her allies, and they'll run away in fear. She will get attacked by the players, but she's like, oh, these ants can wait while I enjoy myself, and that's just savage.
She just sits there eating.
No, she literally spawns, and if you didn't kill all of her minions, she eats them before she starts killing you. Your wizard could be casting fireball. She'll take her time and eat the minions. I'm just like, that is savage as hell. But
yeah, it is. But then Bahamut comes in, and he's all like,
they actually never fight.
Awesome.
Well, they hate each other, but they never really fought each other because, like, in the end, to them, it's a game. A Game of Thrones. But yet to them, it's like, this is entertaining as hell, just seeing our children fight each other. And truly,
when you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you don't get to play anymore, and it's sad. So don't fight each other.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
we'll let you decide.
Yeah. Do you prefer metallic dragons or chromatic dragons? You've heard our arguments. And now it's up to you to decide.
This is probably going to be one of our biggest debates. So, everyone loves dragons, but what is the true dragon of dragons? The true king of dragons. I'm pretty sure Gold actually has that. That's a nickname for them. I don't know.
Boom. All right.
Oh, no, they're called emperor dragons, right?
All right.
Reds are the kings.
We are gone. We're gone. Goodbye.